Hi, Jack.
Hi, Rhonda. Welcome to the Bubble Boutique.
What's that?
Well, it's a soap opera store. We sell soap opera stuff. Hats, buds,
I love it.
the whole
I love
thing.
it. This is great.
Do you watch soap opera?
I sure do. And you know what? I would love to find out about their real lives.
Well, let's go take a visit to Soapland and find out what they really do behind the scenes.
Let's go.
Okay.
We found Peter Bergman in his backyard, building a new fence for his San Fernando Valley home.
Deciding to buy this house had a lot of different things to it. Mostly, it reminds me of the East. It's an old Connecticut farmhouse of a place, and it's wood, and it needed work, and would give me a fullness to my life that I really like. I like old things.
So, Peter, how long have you been doing this?
Oh, well, it seems like months. Seems like I've been out here forever. When it comes to fence building, they aren't sending rocket scientists out to my house, so I could probably figure out how to do this myself, or possibly cheaper. Maybe that's it. Maybe I'm just cheap.
Peter has lived in New York City for 17 years before moving to Los Angeles.
Manhattan was an island filled with driven people. Nobody moves to Manhattan for an easy time of it. They usually are there to serve a purpose. I miss some of that. But the downside of it was my wife didn't have much company, and women who had decided they wanted to be there when their kids came home. They wanted to be there at least those first few years, full-time mom. So now Mary Ellen has friends here who have chosen the same thing she has, and I like that about California a lot, because it's an easier job for her that way. I think it's a very difficult job.
To be mom?
Easy to build fences. Hard to be a mom.
Well, how are you at Mr. Mom?
Oh, I'm okay at Mr. Mom, but Mr. Mom is always different than Mrs. Mom. Mr. Mom, you feel like a great guy for having done this, and then you go to tell anybody what exactly you did for the day with your kids. It adds up to nothing, but you're exhausted, It's nothing you can get kudos for, nothing you can get great, and men are terrible. Speaking for myself, I somehow want great credit for having looked after the children all day.
And change the diaper correctly.
Yes, exactly. Well, look what I did. I fed them, I put them down for naps, I got them up. Great, Peter, I do that every day.
Another thing Peter likes about living in Los Angeles is his pool.
I get unholy pleasure out of playing in the pool with my children. I am shocked how much I enjoy it, but I could stay in the water endlessly. I think I see it through their eyes. I think I don't know what it is. I mean, there are lots of things that I do with my kids that, you do it because you're supposed to do it. Dad should do that. I could do that forever. I'm looking forward to the pool being warm enough for us all to go in. The heater isn't working, so.
Do your children have any acting aspirations?
It is my dearest hope. Neither of my children have any acting aspirations. I'm asked all the time, what can I do to help my daughter? My daughter's such a talented girl. I always want to tell them, tell your daughter to stay the hell out of this business.
Why is that?
It's an ugly, ugly business. It chews people up and spits them out. I don't want to sound ungrateful. It has been tremendously kind to me. But it is a very unpleasant business that people, it didn't work out, so we just fired them. We just got rid of them. It's not faithful to anyone. It's a very, very strange business, television, and acting in general.
So, Peter, how do you discipline your children?
My mother gave me the best advice about raising children and discipline. She told me, children do not run a home. Adults have to run a home. The more child-centered a home becomes, the more self-centered our kids become. It's just a fact.
But they want structure.
They want structure.
And they need it.
Connor's 4 years old. He is desperately trying to figure out what the rules are, most of all so he can play with them, so he can see if they'll bend, see if he can break them. But he wants to know the rules. Tell me the rules. He loves that stuff.
What made you decide to go into acting?
I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York. I'd like to tell you that it was great drive and determination. I remember when I went to my 10-year high school reunion, everyone said, "But you got out, man. You went on to New York and you chased your dream." I think I was running away from my adolescence as much as I was running to anything. And I got to New York and was lucky that when I got to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, there were teachers there who didn't buy my bull. You know, they saw through it and said, no, you could be good at this. Come here, you could be good at this.
Oh,
this is what you need to know. And then I really learned to take myself a little more seriously. That always sounds wrong, you know, take yourself seriously, but I think in the end it's kind of our job as adults to learn to take ourselves seriously enough. People say, what drives you? You know, are you afraid of failure? Are you afraid? I'm so afraid of mediocrity. I'm so afraid of my life being an average, just like everyone else. Nothing special, nothing different. Didn't take any big chances, but he's a nice guy, you know. Oh gosh, that just sounds horrible to me. It really does. I'm driven by the need to have my life feel special in some way. I feel terribly blessed, but I always want to feel terribly blessed. You know what I mean?
Break the ice, and you can help me understand. Take the night into your own hands. Burn the flame, ignite the love we used to know. Learn to change, we've got to let the past go. Start to heal, 'cause we don't have to fall. Hearts that feel can have it all. Take one step closer, let love start over. Shoot one more arrow through my heart. We'll come back stronger and hold on longer. Shoot one more arrow through my heart.
She's bold, she's beautiful, she's Bobby Eakson, she's extremely versatile, especially in the field of music. Have you always wanted to be a singer? Was this your main structure all the time?
Singing was always my first priority until I got into acting about 4 years ago. But when I moved out to Los Angeles 7 years ago, the one thing that I wanted to do was become a professional singer and record an album and promote an album. And I kind of got sidetracked and got into acting. And now, of course, I'm on the soap and have been for 2 years, and I love it just as much.
Do you remember the first song that you sang?
Oh, gosh, ever?
Yeah, like
The
a
first song-
professional appearance or your first in front of people.
Okay, the first time that I ever sang in front of people was in junior high school, and I sang some country songs for a talent show. I was very nervous, and I did one song, and the teachers that were organizing the talent show said, you know, you might want to get another song because you're pretty good, and I think they might want you to do another one. And that was the first inkling that I had that I might be good, and so it was a lot of fun for me. It was very exciting.
You sang with your sisters too, didn't you?
Yeah, that was later on. We started singing together as a group. I have 4 sisters, and we started doing some shows, local shows in the Middle Georgia area, and we also performed at the Miss Georgia pageant, which was on the PBS station in Georgia, as a group. And we did that for a number of years until I moved to Los Angeles.
But you're skipping over something. You were Miss Georgia yourself, if I
Yes.
recall correctly.
Yes, I was Miss Georgia in 1982, 83, and I competed in the Miss America pageant. I was in the top 10 there in Atlantic City.
And did you sing in the contest?
Yes, I sang a song from Funny Lady, a Barbra Streisand song.
When you auditioned for Bold and the Beautiful, did you think you were going to sing on the show?
When I auditioned for The Bold and the Beautiful, I had no idea that the character would be singing, nor did the producers or the writers. I came on Strictly as Sally Spector's daughter, a business person. Actually, the character had just gotten out of school. But the producers did get a hold of my videos, and they saw that I sang. And then when Jeff Tracta's character came on the show, and they found out that he sang as well, they decided to stage a variety show on the show, and everyone got a chance to do their little thing. So that's when we started singing.
How did you feel about getting Cinderella?
Well, it was wonderful because we did have the opportunity to do something in town. We didn't have to travel. It was very easy to get clearance from the show to do Cinderella. Plus, it was just a wonderful experience working with Steve Allen and Jane Meadows and Rose Marie, who played the fairy godmother. So Jeff and I had a wonderful time because there's nothing like working before a live audience. They give you so much back, and you can stretch and build your character and really work on a show in progress. So it's just a wonderful experience.
Racing to the shadows, chase away the demon, looking for the answer, always gonna need one now. I've got to tell you, when you're always running, there's no way you can hide that. Under the stars, feel the fear inside you now, yeah. 'Cause we are
Who are your favorite singers or role models?
Well, you know, I love the musicians that sang and wrote their own music. I loved Elton John and Billy Joel and the Beatles. I don't have any one singer that I try to emulate. I think I pull from a lot of different artists and groups, and it changes daily. From what I hear on the radio, I'll listen to something and say, oh, that's great, and they'll be my favorite for the week.
mystery as a riddle in an ancient dream we seek all our lives. I color you.
Have you ever written music?
Yes, I have. I'm mostly a lyricist, but I have collaborated with some songwriter friends of mine. Well, it takes a lot of dedication. And to tell you the truth, I'm not as dedicated as I should be to really take myself seriously, but I do enjoy it occasionally. But I know songwriters that say you just have to sit down every day in order to get one hit song. You just can't, say, I'm going to write a hit song today. You may write 100 or 200 songs before you get that magical lyric or that magical song that hits. So you really have to be dedicated.
I pick him out, he might catch my eye, he's lucky. Looking it all, you gotta have something more. I chase him down, I write down his number with my lipstick. You're coming in, and you might wanna close the door. Lipstick, I gotta read my lipstick. He didn't have a chance.
How do you feel when you hear a tape or a record that you made a couple of years ago? I mean, is there a lot of change? Do you feel satisfied with it, or it's always it's not good enough, right?
I'm my worst critic. I can't stand to watch myself. Show, I've gotten used to it a little bit, but I just tense up when I'm watching myself, or if I hear myself. I hear all the mistakes in a song or a piece, and I have to remind myself to think of it as a whole instead of trying to nitpick, because the general public just listens to the whole body of work and they don't necessarily pinpoint all the errors. But it's very painful for me. I think a lot of performers can say the same thing.
Hey, this is a great place for the interview. This is our pool area here. Hold on, let's go in here. I don't have the key. No problem.
Paulie Valverde is a fun kind of guy.
Boy, it's great to be in shape. Come on in.
I understand that Geraldo Rivera had you on his show, and you did a love scene that was kind of unusual.
Yeah, it's funny. The people from Geraldo called me, and, they called my publicist actually and said, would you like to do this show? And I said, sure. What's the angle? He says, we got an angle. And I said, what? He goes, I hope you go for it. Since you've only done one, we're going to pick a girl out of the audience. We're going to have a bed up on the stage,
Oh my
and you're going
gosh.
to get to play a love scene on Geraldo in front of 2,500 people at a shopping mall.
Oh my gosh, at a shopping mall?
Yeah, and I said, well, can I call my agent first? So we went for it, yeah, it was wild. It was hysterical. They sent, after the audience picked who they wanted, they sent us backstage to change into pajamas, right? They
Into
put
pajamas?
Yeah, they put her in some sexy black
you had
lingerie.
pajamas on, or?
So I had some bottoms on, and I had a robe on. So we came back out on stage, right?
Yeah.
Geraldo says,
Rolly, do me a favor, take off the top. Kill the top.
and it
they
was
cheer?
funny, yeah. You know, I felt like I was a rock star. People screaming. And then he says, okay,
Why don't you get in bed?
I got into the bed, under the covers.
All right, now hand me the trousers.
I said, come on. He says, give me your pants. So I shimmy out of the trowel, right? And I walk
So
into
you're
a
in
little
the back?
ball, and I hold them up triumphantly. Yeah. The place is going nuts by now, okay? Sitting there, like, tossing my pajamas, and I'm basically there in my skivvies. On national TV, Mom, forgive me. So then he tells the girl to hop in, right? And she jumps right in. It was funny. I mean, this girl was not shy.
Sean,
And
you all
they
right
had
here?
written for us this
Okay, can
really
you see your
corny
cue
little
cards,
love
Rolly?
scene.
Okay,
You know,
Andrea,
like
can you see
a
yours?
motto, please kiss me like you kissed the women in Santa Barbara. So I planted one on her, man. And, I mean, she attacked me, and it was electric. This place was going nuts.
Raleigh, I understand you just broke up with your girlfriend. Were these maybe some of the reasons why?
She was a great girl. I don't know. I have a picture of her. I miss her already. Here, can you get a close-up on this? Yeah.
I like her lashes.
I tell her about those, and she just doesn't seem to get the picture. But I liked her. I liked her a lot.
So what do you look for in a woman?
Well, I like blonde.
You like blonde?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
you know, it's funny. I actually, that's not true. I want to marry a girl like Mom.
you do?
Oh yeah, dark hair drives me nuts. Green eyes, olive skin. But for some reason, I always end up with blondes. I don't know why that is.
So you don't subconsciously look for certain characteristics, certain features of a woman that attract you?
No.
I mean, what do you look at first?
God, this is so shallow of me to say, but usually I notice a woman's appearance first.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So her
But
body.
then right away, I've got to see. Let me try and slime my way out of this, right? But right away, I've got to see like a spark,
Uh-huh.
something fascinating to me, a funny, a very intelligent. My button came undone there. How funny. It happens every time I pull this picture out, you know, the buttons start popping.
So what's sexy?
Sexy to me is a woman who can be in public the senator's wife and then turn into Madonna in the bedroom.
And to get his ideal woman, Raleigh spends a lot of time to keep his body in shape. I understand your mom comes to the softball games and keeps score. Is that right?
You know, maybe that's part of the reason why
Yeah.
people think I'm immature, because my parents still play a very big part in my life.
Uh-huh.
You know, they're very...
Well, I think that's attractive.
Yeah, well, they're very, you know, proud working class people, and for their son to be doing what I'm doing, this is like the farthest thing from their in their imagination. They can't even fathom it. You know, this is the greatest thing in the world for them. So now it's funny, they want to be so, they've always wanted to be very close, but now they're there for everything. They want to be there for every moment of my life now, which is great. And Mom is the scorekeeper. She's like the team mother from my softball team. Yeah.
Den mother.
The dead mother, right? And they bring out a ice chest of Gatorade to all the games for all the guys.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it's funny, you know.
Yeah.
These are like all 26, 27, 28, 30-year-old guys. And they think that, man, we all look at my mom as the team mother.
Oh, that's great.
As a matter of fact, I have to work next Saturday. I'll be on the set.
Yeah.
I'm missing a game, and good old Mom and Pop Valverde will be out there with the Gatorade and the scoreboard. Oh, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
What did she think about your character and the kind of sex symbol that you're becoming, that you are?
They turn off the TV every time it looks like I'm going to get steamy with someone. You know, my dad. You know, it's funny. It's like the thought of me having sex with a woman is as incomprehensible to them as me thinking about my parents having sex. You know, I mean, I thought I was going to need the couch when I found out how I was actually conceived.
Yeah, right.
You know, I was a firm believer in the stork for many years.
For many years,
Yeah.
okay. So that's that Peter Pan characteristic. in you.
Yeah.
So what do you want to grow up to be?
I want to grow up and be a great actor. Like, I want to be someone, like every so often performances come along in films that make me realize why I got into the business. Recently, Anthony Hopkins, Dr. Hannibal Lecter. You go and see that, and then you come out of there saying, that's why I want to be an actor.
Raleigh, do you see yourself married down the line?
Yes, I do, and I relish the opportunity. I'm actively seeking it.
Oh.
I want it because I'm getting to that age now where I'm driving by a Little League park, you know, and I'll see the fathers with their sons, you know, and holding a bat. And I don't know. That part of me now is starting to develop.
So fatherhood is definitely something that you're
Yeah.
looking forward to.
Yeah, as well as, of course, you know, sharing my life with a woman. I know it's possible. I see people
Yeah.
doing it.
Uh-huh.
You know, my parents have been together for 33 years.
So they were great role models for
Oh,
you.
yeah. Fantastic. You know, I mean, they know what marriage is, should be, and will be with me. It's two people who love each other, and they take seriously the part about till death do us part.
So commitment's very
Yeah,
strong in your heart.
yeah. But when I do it, it's going to be done.
Bill and Susan Hayes are not only known as two of daytime's best actors, they're also known as two of daytime's most traveling actors.
We spent a week in northeastern Arizona.
The Four Corners region and Utah. And our first trip together to the Hopi Reservation was absolutely marvelous.
It was so memorable. There's a family there in the Hopis that is kind of an entrepreneurial family. Sikakaku is the family name, and we met several members of their family. They treated us like family. And they went around and introduced us to all the Hopis there, and the Hopis only could get Channel 4, and so they all watched Days of Our
Yeah,
Lives.
the
So we
Hopis
were
were
a part of
captive
their-
audiences of Days of Our Lives, and this was just great.
You know, I don't know much background on the Hopi Indians. Can you tell me a little bit more about them?
The Hopi Indians are in northeastern Arizona. Their reservation is like the middle of a donut hole. It's a small group of people of about 10,000, surrounded by over 150 to 200,000 Navajos.
The Navajo Reservation is very large northeastern corner of Arizona, and the Hopi Reservation actually sits right in the center of it.
And they all are constantly competing for land and water rights in this desert area. And the Hopis were the first people, really, in North America to cultivate corn very, very successfully. They understand dry farming. They were the first people to talk to the plants. And I discovered that on the Hopi Reservation there was, in fact, a motel and a cultural center, and you could spend the night even if you didn't know anybody.
The morning we were about to leave, we're just getting up, starting to get ready to leave, and Pharaoh Sikakaku knocked on the door and said, "There's a dance, a
Are you
casino
ready?
dance,
Come now."
starting right now. Do you want to see it?" Well,
Yeah.
it was fantastic. Went to this little village up on top of
First Mesa.
First Mesa, on top of a home. We looked down into a plaza, and there were 60 men, all in a Kachina costume, you know, dancing. All this
Wonderful sound.
song that they were singing, all of them moving back and forth and doing dance.
And not only Hopi Indians, but Indians from all over the Southwest, from all over North America visit these dances because they empower you and they are healing and they're very good for you.
Susan, what is a kachina?
Kachina, K-A-T-C-H-I-N-A. A kachina is three things in the history of the Hopi tribe. First, they were a group of spirits who visited and helped the Hopi in their migrations around the world to help them to settle in the center of the universe, which is what the Hopis call their land. The Hopi is the only tribe that never made war with the government of the United States and is intact on the land where they commenced their history. So the Kachina is the spiritual essence that exists that helps them. It is also a dancer. It is also a member of the tribe who learns about that spirit and personifies that spirit in the dancing ceremonials. When he puts on the costume and the mask, he becomes the Kachina. Following that, there is also the Kachina doll, these little beautiful objects that originally were designed to teach the children who the spirits were. Girls and boys, little children, would receive these carvings of them so they could get to know them, understand them, appreciate that they were all involved in each other's life. And they would stay up in the houses, hanging on the roof, hanging on the ceiling. This is the corn boy Kachina, and he wears a fox skin for the animal kingdom. He wears a special sash that happens to be a female wedding sash. And in the wedding sash, you have the image of the corn and the rain, the corn blossom, the tassel coming down, and the rain. All of the art of Hopi is based on natural objects having to do with agriculture. This green ruff represents fir boughs that are gathered from the spruce tree, which is sacred to the Hopi. He has little corn images on his little face.
It's a very spiritual group of people. They pray for everybody. They pray for the happiness and the health and the corn,
The
growth, the life for everybody.
Now, the little guy in the front that doesn't have the legs like the other dolls.
This is the Crow Mother. This is one particular artist's interpretation of the Crow Mother. And she comes to warn the children when they're not too good. She appears in the households from time to time. And if the children have been bad, she'll attempt to whip them. And the parents will sometimes come forward and say, oh, but they mean to be good. We know they mean to be good. It's just that they haven't been concentrating lately. And so she is a threat. And if they have been good, she brings reward. So it comes at a time to get the kids' attention very, very firmly.
Well, she has her eye on you at the moment.
Yeah, she's watching
right
you,
now,
Dick.
yes.
This is the sun, very powerful and very beautiful, with the colors of the directions of the universe, carrying a rattle and wearing the old-fashioned dance kilt, and again a little fox fur down
And
the
when you
back.
saw the actual dancers, they wear outfits almost exactly like what you're
Oh,
saying.
yes.
These are definitely
Yes,
reproduction.
with real fir boughs that are gathered 60 miles away off the mesa. The dancers prepare by purifying themselves with fasting prior to the dance. The dance goes on for 12 hours. Every hour they come out and dance for a long period of time. They don't eat during that time period. And there's further fasting following the ceremony. It's quite a serious business.
But did they give you Indian names? I mean, did...
No.
That's what
Doug
I'd
and
like to
Julie
know.
was fine
Yeah,
with them.
it was fine.
Julie, that's right. That's our
Yeah,
Indian name.
those are our Indian names.
So you met several families that watched the show
Oh,
every
yes.
day like that?
Everyone we went to, they would have their set hooked up, connected to the car. To
Yeah,
the,
to get the
the
power.
battery in the car, you know.
If it was a conservative household that didn't have electricity, yes. Yeah.
The
They thought-
connection of going out to the car and going through all of that trouble to
Yes.
watch the soap is just fascinating to me.
Well, what we enjoyed so much was discovering that this was not a closed world, that we as whites were very welcome. And there was so much to see and obviously so much to learn from their culture that we were uplifted and continue to be stimulated by our contacts with the tribal people.
I was raised in the country on a dry and dusty plain. And like the good farmer's son I was, I always prayed for rain.
Brad Mall has had an unusually diverse and dramatic life on General Hospital.
I have been blind, comatose, paralyzed,
impotent. I've had 4 brain surgeries. I've been shot in the head and the heart. I'm very good at being a victim, obviously.
So
I've been married 3 times. My first wife got hit by a truck and killed. My second wife robbed my house. And my third wife, I'm just divorced because she lied to me about where our baby came from. So, no big deal.
So no big deal.
Just like regular life.
Operator on my home shopping TV. Do you think that you might could ship me a skeleton key?
So being out in the country, is that what made you pick up a guitar and start playing, or how did you get interested in music?
You know, I believe in destiny a lot. I was born doing what I do. You know, my family has no background in show business whatsoever. You know, my father is a farmer. He is a roper. You know,
He's a roper?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
he was a cowboy?
Very much so.
Yeah.
He's almost like a local legend in our area, you know. But from the time I was born, I was always singing. You know, I just wanted to be in show business. I didn't know how, but I wanted to.
We'll stay out for 1 year. Doesn't give my wife the right to lock me up in here.
People ask me, you know, do you come up with an idea or a melody or what do you do? I sit and I'll usually play like a chord over and over again, be in a particular mood. You find one line and you pull on it like a string and you just follow it, and it'll take you, it'll write a song for you. The best songs that you write, the best paintings I've done are not pre-planned, but things that come out from the inside of you.
Brad, what style would you say your paintings are?
I don't know. I'm not a trained painter. You know, I paint by inspiration, I guess. So it's probably a lot of it is abstract, but it's a great release for me. You know, they say that a lot of times in your life when you're inspired to do art, you have in mind one thing that you want to paint, but you're sort of filled with a golden light and you paint what you're told to paint by some other higher form. And I'm not that esoteric, but I often find that I will set out what I want to paint, you know, this picture, that picture, and then all of a sudden it's a completely different painting by the time you get through. Sometimes I'll finish them to a point and then let them hang for a while and think about them. But I don't use real conventional techniques. This painting was actually done with paper towels and Q-tips and my fingers for the most part. I know that sounds a little strange, but I don't use brushes that much a lot of times.
I know it must seem so crazy after all the work you've done.
Brad, you have an album out called Living It Up. What's on the album?
I call this my Eddie Murphy production because I designed the album cover, I painted the album cover, I wrote all the songs, I wrote all the music. You can't blame anybody but me for this album. So I'm pretty proud of it, and I'm actually already working on the second album. But this will give you some insight into it. This is the liner notes, which I wrote also. Thank you very much. This album took 1 week to record and years of curious happenings to create. It took a family farm in West Texas, a cowboy poet father, an unknowingly psychic mother, a girl I loved when I was 16 and married when I was 33, a trio of wild, precious children, a small-town drama teacher who fed me avocados and dreams, Norman and Vi Petty, Clovis, New Mexico, with its proximity to UFOs and Holiday Inns, Stully Bill, soap operas, trash magazines, velvet paintings, Buddy Holly's microphone, and finally 2 pieces of advice from my wife, Laverne. You are either fluid or congealed in this life. Which one are you going to be, Big Daddy? And things are not ever what they seem.
So did things work out the way that you wanted them to after you got out of high school when you were growing up?
In hindsight, it all worked exactly the way it was supposed to. My wife and I dated when we were 16 years old, and I was madly in love with her. And she was, I think, in love with me, but she was already connected to somebody else. And so it took us 13 years to find each other again and get married, you know? So, and I think if we had gotten married when we were 16, it would not have worked out. But, you know, in hindsight, everything that happened was supposed to happen.
What role does fatherhood play in your life?
Well, it, you know, obviously plays a big role in my life. When I was, you know, young manhood, I never thought I would have kids or dogs. And I sort of woke up one day and I had all these kids and dogs and cats all over the house, and I really love it. And being on a soap opera gives you a chance to be with your kids a lot. Like I get all of my artistic jollies out and work about 3 days a week. So I have 4 days a week to hang out with my kids and be Mr. Mom. You know, I can change a diaper with the best of them, you know.
So you are Mr.
And
Mom.
what's funny is that since I have kids on television, they've been very easy for me to handle. You know, it wasn't like a lot of actors when they have a baby on a television show, they're just like, God, I can't remember my lines. What am I going to do with this, you know? For me, I just plop them on a hip and go on because I'm used to it.
So tell us, Brad, how do you raise your children?
Boy, what a mystery. If I had to sum it up in one sentence, I would say that I look to my mother and father for guidance. And not, I don't call them on the phone, but almost every day something comes up in my mind, discipline or a lack of discipline, or what do we do, what do we not do? And I find myself searching inside of me for what did my parents do. So I would say that's a pretty big compliment to them, that I consider them a good example to follow.
Brad, what do you see happening in your future?
People that assume that I'm just a soap opera actor or that you just work in a filling station are completely off base. All of us have a lot of other things in our life, you know? And that's what's important to me. I love my kids. I love my wife. I love working on this house. I love painting. I love songwriting. Oh yeah, I'm on a soap opera. You know, it's that kind of thing. It's not, I'm a soap opera actor. Yeah, I'm a very lucky person.
And I'm hooked on soap operas. I'm ashamed to confess. I see my wife, she put me under house arrest. See now my wife, she put me under house arrest.
MacDonald Carey has played Dr. Tom Horton on Days of Our Lives for over 25 years, and his life has been very interesting, to say the least. We drove out to Mac's Beverly Hills home to look at his pride and joy, his beautiful new garden, and to discuss his autobiography, The Days of My Life. Is it painful writing a biography?
Of course it is. It's very inside-wrenching because you've got to uncover a lot of things that you'd hidden, and we run into a lot of emotional blocks as well as just plain memory blocks. And going over your past is not easy for anybody. I don't care how pure of heart they are. It's not easy, but also it's a great satisfaction when it's done. It's a great catharsis, and you will have found out a lot about yourself that you never did before.
Did you have to go to people to check on some of the things?
I did, and that was the most painful part, going to people in the cast, really, of Days of Our Lives. Frances, I think, who plays my wife, was the roughest thing for her and for me, but the best because she was able to unburden herself of a lot of things that she'd had on her mind over the years, particularly during the period when I was drinking on the show. And that's one of the things the book is about. It's about alcoholism and about mental illness. I have a daughter who's a schizophrenic, and I equate the two things, alcoholism and mental illness, as brain diseases, and the fact that they're two of the prime things that are disturbing in this country right now, that the homeless are comprised of certifiably 33% of them are people that are mentally ill, people that have been dumped out of the mental institutions. Here in California particularly, it's a shame. But it's the same thing is true all over the country. But I talk about that, the fact that both of these diseases are brain diseases. You can see now with thermal indicators, whatever they call them, and scans, that something has happened to the brain. And it's a brain disease in both cases, and both are treatable. One by, there's a fellowship that I belong to, and if you only have to do two things. One, admit you're an alcoholic. The other, that there's a power outside yourself, and then you go to try to make reparation for all the things that you've done that were wrong in your life, and you have the support of all these people, and it's a wonderful organization, and you can get to the point where you are a recovering alcoholic, which I am. I've had 9 years absolutely straight.
Mac, when does a man or woman know when they've reached that point where they have to get help?
A man or a woman hits their bottom, and they know that it's time to seek help of some kind, and I did. I had always said in the back of my mind, the minute that I have to drink before I go on the show, then I know I've got to admit to myself that I am an alcoholic. I made all sorts of excuses before. No matter what happened, I would brush it aside, sweep it under the table, under the rug, and finally it happened, and I went for help, and as I say, this fellowship came up. The other thing, though, that I want to talk about is the mental health thing, and I do talk about it, and the fact that that, too, is treatable, that there's hope for people, and both of these things, if people would come out of the closet and admit they have these problems, they can do something about it. But the book is about other things than those two things. It's a lot about the soap opera. It's about, there's a genealogy of the show. When I started to write it, I went to the producers and said, is there a family Bible? They didn't have one. And I had to go to a fan that had a fan club, and she, Polly Hazen, helped me with the thing and had one. And the two of us worked it out, and I made a lot of mistakes. It's not absolutely Simon pure, but it's the first one that's ever been down, and the person that buys the book gets that. And then there are a lot of things about the golden years of radio, of movies. I did about 65 pictures.
Hitchcock once made a statement about actors and cattle. What was he like to work with on Shadow
Not true. He may have made the mistake, but he made it for an interview. Now, Hitch was wonderful to actors. I talked to Jimmy Stewart once after dinner about Hitch, and we both agreed that he was better to actors than any director that he knew or that I knew, and certainly Jimmy worked with him. Should know, he did 4 pictures, I think, from Rear Window and Vertigo and a couple other things. But Hitch was just marvelous. You know, the famous thing that he told me, he'd also told Jimmy that when a particular emotional scene, when you come in and discover this horrible thing, don't act. Just drain your face of every expression and let the camera do all the work. And in other words, let the audience do your feeling and thinking for you at that particular point. And this is the trick as far as a lot of motion picture acting and TV acting is concerned.
After running around promoting the book and doing so many things, you've created your own Garden of Eden out here. Tell us about the Madonna. That's one of my favorites.
I got that from the same place I got some of the tiles that were done by a Sicilian artist that studied with Picasso, except these tiles are more simple and it's a kind of Baroque Madonna tiles from Barcelona.
Well, now, when you sit out here in this beautiful setting, would you do me a favor and read 1 or 2 of your poems for me?
I'll read just one thing. Excuse me while I bend down and pick this up. Just happen to have it here. First, I'll lead into this by the end of something about both the problem of communication and the identity crisis that we have. This is, we all have. This is the last stanza of something. Is it any wonder the words of signature in the soap opera I've done for 23 years and that's under 25 years? I misunderstood. I say, this is MacDonald Carey at the beginning and end of each show 5 times a week. 2 people as distant and disparate as a housewife in Ohio and an air stewardess from Memphis, Tennessee, have written me the identical story. Their 8-year-old boys have each one time or another come up to them and said, it's 12 o'clock, Mommy. Time to turn on the TV. Time to listen to my dumb old carrot. Of course, that's me, MacDonald Carey. But the other thing that has to do with identity is the little thing that I wrote for the show. They had a wonderful thing. They let me be a poet, and I was a closet poet from the show. I was a doctor, and they called me Norm de Plume. But this is one of the things I wrote for the show. Who was that masked man? It is titled. You can go years without realizing other people know things about you that you don't. You could walk down the street and pass yourself without knowing who it was you passed. It's hard enough to catch up with yourself. And then it doesn't do you any good because you don't know who it is you've caught up with.
I love it.
But
Will you do me a favor and say the lines for me? I know I've asked you this many times. Say the lines from the show, the opening.
Like sand through the hourglass, so are the days of our lives.
Who could ask
John
anything
Kerry.
According to Jackie, becoming a mother was the best thing that ever happened to her. What went through your mind when you first had Cassidy laid on your stomach right after she was born? And what was the first thought?
She was like a little pea pod. She looked like little E.T. head, you know, because her eyes were blinking. She was beautiful, and she had blue eyes.
They're huge.
Huge blue eyes, and Glenn has brown eyes, and I have brown eyes, and we thought, where did these blue eyes come from? But I'll never forget that of seeing her on my chest and seeing her face, you know, so close to mine, and the little eyes blinking open.
And they know you.
Oh, and loving her right away.
Yeah.
And people had said to me, don't be surprised if you don't feel immediately bonded to your baby, or you don't love your baby right away. That it takes a few days before you begin to feel that bond. Right away, I saw her and I thought, oh,
look into the eyes.
What a joyful moment. Yeah, I felt like, you know, I could see her soul and she could see mine, and it was so beautiful. And Glenn was right there, my husband Glenn, the whole time.
So how is Glenn?
Glenn's a great daddy.
Yeah. Did he wake up when you woke up?
He has no problem about changing diapers, and he's not afraid of her. A lot of men, I don't think they mean to be that way, but they're totally intimidated by babies, and they kind of don't feel comfortable holding them because they're so little, and it's kind of like, well, I'll take it when it's old enough to play ball, you know?
Right.
But he's really taken a very active part in caregiving to her and in playing with her.
Jackie, how do you feel about quality time versus quantity time?
The ideal thing, if I could pick, I would have loved to take a year off from work and just stay home and be a mom. That would be the ideal to me.
Mm-hmm. But where would you be, Bobby, you know, for a year?
Yeah, it's not possible to do that. So I get the next best thing in my mind is to bring her with me, which has been wonderful. I feel so blessed that I can have her in my room. And we have the crib there, we have the changing table, so she's in my dressing room, and it's dynamite. And she comes up on the set, and she watches while we rehearse. Oh, yeah. So she only actually has to go down when we're actually shooting the scene, which is 3 minutes or 4 minutes.
So you have her with you a lot.
We're really glued to the hip. Yeah, and she comes to the commissary every day. We have the commissary work, and it's kind of like a daycare, unofficial daycare center, because so many of the actresses were all just, you know, 30 to 40, getting them in under the wire, having our babies now. So there we are in the commissary, and everybody's nursing. We've all got our blankets over the shoulder, and the kids in our lap, and the car seats are on the chair, and the strollers, and it's great.
You really don't have to deal with the quality versus the quantity because you have her a lot of the time.
And also with the soap, it's working 3 days a week, shooting 3 days a week, as opposed to a 5 or 6 day week schedule, so I get those other days off.
What specific tips could you give the moms out there about raising a child?
The most important thing that I found that's been helpful to me is getting her on a schedule. For example, she has her meals when she's supposed to have her meals. And if it means that we're out, then she eats while we're out. But she has her breakfast at 7:30. She has her snack at 11. She has her lunch at 1. She has her other snack at 4, and she has her dinner at 6:30. No matter where I am or what I'm doing. Another thing that's saved me time is to learn to make the fresh food. We have a little grinder. We make like enough for a week's worth, and then put them in little Tupperware things in the freezer. So we can make enough for 2 or 3 days and mix the fruit in, and it's done. And it doesn't have to be done separately. And I've learned even where to keep things. At first, I had all her things in her nursery, but she doesn't have a bathtub in her bathroom. She just has a shower. So I've learned to, like, she has her corner now in my bathroom by the tub with her towels, her washcloths that are washed, you know, special, and her toys, so that everything's where it's set up, and it saves me a lot of time because we have an up and downstairs house, a lot of time of running up and down of knowing that what's hers maybe goes in my room if it's quicker for me to get to it there.
So what she's doing is where it should be.
Yeah,
When
her
it's
vitamins
happening.
are next to my dad in the morning, it's because that's where I give them to her, rather than having them be wherever they are and go running to look for them, you know.
Right.
So and that helps. And I've learned also with feeding times to keep certain toys that she really likes by the table, like her tapes, her special tapes, her favorite
Her
tapes.
song about Cassidy.
Her Cassidy song.
We're gonna have to play that. That's adorable.
We never had a TV by the breakfast table or the dinner table because Glenn and I always said we have candlelight dinner every night.
You do?
Every night. And
Every night?
every night, always.
Okay.
and no paper plates and no
I'm
paper
impressed.
napkins. I just like a nice set table and fabric napkins and the candles lit.
You know, being a young mom, a new mom, your focus is so much on Cassidy. How do you keep your relationship with Glenn just romantic and exciting?
I think that, having the baby does. You do for the first, certainly the first year. The baby has to become the priority. I mean, when the baby needs you, the baby needs you. You can't say, well, excuse me, I'll be done in an hour. So, sometimes the romance gets put on the back burner for a little bit, and you've got to have, I think, a real strong bond in your marriage, and you have to love your husband, and he has to love you, and you have to have a sense of humor about it and be able to sometimes laugh when you can't always, have the romance come first.
Right.
But you also have to say, okay, there's a limited time for this, and then it'll go back, and you have to work at it.
So you have the candlelit dinner. And
so we do that. That's one of the things we do. We still make fires in the fireplace to have our time together so that we can feel, besides being mom and dad, we're still a man and a woman. We're very much in love, and our marriage is important to us.
What do you think the difference is about motherhood then when you were growing up and motherhood now?
I think it's that old thing of, years ago, it was children should be seen but not heard.
Oh.
And I think we're out of that now. In those days, when I was a kid, almost all moms didn't work. Right. And that's changed a lot. So, and I think you get a lot more participation from the dads now. And I'm real happy for that. So Cass is part of our family, and we're a group, and where we go, she goes.
It's a team.
We're a team, and we all eat together, and we do things together, and Glenn, my husband, takes as much part in bringing her up as I do.
What do you like most about being mom?
Just I look at her face, and I look into her eyes. I feel like being her mom is the most important thing I've ever done, and that's a good feeling.
So, Dick, you think I'm a soap fan or what?
Definitely. You love the soaps, do you?
I do.
Well, in fact, we're going to present you with your first award, the world's greatest soap opera fan.
I love it. Well, we'll have to do this again.
Oh, definitely. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.